Welcome to ABC Behavior Training's podcast, where our goal is disseminating the science of ABA to everyday behavior analysts. If you are part of our membership group, the Behavior Crew, then you are getting priority access to this episode along with free CEU'S for starter and pro level members. If you're not a member, stop what you're doing right now. Head over to abcbehaviortx.com and sign up by clicking on the tab Join the Crew. There is an option that is 100% free forever that gets you priority access to our podcasts, free resources and editable worksheets, participation in our monthly Q&A meetings, access to our private Facebook group, and more. If you decide to become a paying member, you get all of that, plus assessment and supervision resources, monthly themed therapy materials, and free access to up to 5 CEU'S per month, which are approved under both the BACB and the QABA. So go check it out, and remember, if there's anything you'd like to hear about or any specific resources you're looking for, please reach out to me via the Contact Me page at abcbehaviortx.com. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Behavior Crew. This is Melissa Druskis. And today I am going to talk to you about the science of changing your behavior. So it's the new year, 2023, but regardless of when you're listening to this information is of course applicable at any time. But I want to talk to you about how we can utilize ABA and what that looks like for when we are trying to change our own behaviors. So we all hopefully can assess our clients, write effective goals, develop treatment plans, and see progress over time by implementing our plans. And we can teach kids to talk, socialize, get dressed, use the bathroom. But how effective are we at actually getting ourselves to the gym in the morning or saving that extra money? We are experts in behavior change, but I don't know about you. I certainly do not use the skills that I know and use on a daily basis on myself to change my own behavior. And I absolutely should. We have these skills. We should be like the most amazing individuals out there because we use these skills on people effectively all the time for our jobs. But I think too often we really forget about or don't really think about using them to achieve our own goals that we want to see within ourselves. So some of the things that I do, which some of you might do as well, but I start with goals that are too lofty without breaking them down. I start with way too many goals, thinking I can conquer the world and fix 20 things at one time, or I just fade off in my progress and don't really go back to it, which of course is a problem with New Year's resolutions. I think it's by the 21st or something like that of January, most people have quit on their New Year's resolution. So hopefully by using some ABA strategies, we can, continue our goals beyond that. So let's change these problems that we have and learn about the science of changing our own behavior. So the first thing I want to talk about is goal setting. So how many goals should you actually have to start off with? And the answer is the fewer, the better. Now, I am guilty of trying to set too many goals at one time, and then I start getting behind on one, and since I am a perfectionist, which isn't a good thing, by the way, I end up dropping all of them, because if I can't be perfect at all of them that I'm doing, if I start slipping up somewhere, I'm like, that's it, I'm done, this isn't working. Of course, I don't do that with my clients that I'm working with. I only do that with myself. So I end up just stopping and really giving up. So if you are kind of a way to think about this, if you're trying to create a new habit or a skill, like something that's really new for you, it's not really already in your repertoire, then one goal is best. And honestly, even if it is something that's in your repertoire, one goal is best. But I know that can be hard for us when we're used to writing multiple goals for our clients. But when you're working on that one goal, the plan is that you meet that one goal and then you move on to a next goal. So you could have like a chain of goals that you're going to work on, and they could be connected or not connected, but just doing one at a time is going to allow you to really focus in on that skill that you're trying to build or that behavior that you're trying to change and put all of your effort towards it. So you know you're not going to slip up by trying to work on some other goal or nothing else is going to get in the way. Now, if you are trying to adjust a behavior that's already in your repertoire, then you can try working on a few goals, but I would still definitely keep it at 5 or less. And again, if you can restrain yourself and do one at a time, that is the most ideal. Now, the number of goals that you choose, it also depends on if they're related or unrelated goals. Like if you are trying to lose weight and also turn your session notes in on time and stop saying cuss words, then you're going to have trouble juggling all of those things at one time. So we often have the perception that we can multitask and that's going to save us time and get more things done, but it can actually cost you over 20% of your time rather than if you just worked on one thing at a time. So just think about that. I know we think that we can do a bunch of stuff at once, oftentimes because we're kind of put in those situations in our job to do a bunch of stuff at once. But you are going to be more successful just focusing in on one thing or a few things. Now, we also want to put some time into considering what we want our goals to be and why. Like you might know right off the bat, like, I want to do this. Like, I want to save money. I want to lose weight. Whatever your goal is. We all kind of have these very common general goals that just, as humans, we want these similar things. You can go and look at like the top New Year's resolution and you're going to see a lot of common things among people. But we really want to think about first, what is your long-term goal? And now that's that thing that might come to you right away, and that's very general. You might want to think and ask yourself, like, 1 year from now, where do you see yourself, or what do you want to be doing? Or maybe even move it further in the future, like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. What do you want your life or yourself to look like, or that you're going to be doing? Like, what is that image that you have? And then ask yourself, why do you want to achieve that goal? So, why do you want to save money? Maybe you want to buy something or get a house or something like that. So that might be your first why. And that's just the very surface level of why you want to have that goal. So then you want to dig deeper. Okay, why is that important to you? And then you're going to keep asking yourself that why question and digging deeper and deeper until you find the real motivation behind that goal, your final why. So I'm going to give you an example, and this is just my example. I used to do Weight Watchers, and I had to stop because I got pregnant, and they kick you out when you're pregnant. But this is what they do for everyone, and of course, like in Weight Watchers, your goal is to lose weight. And this is something that they added to several other really behavior-based changes that they added once they started hiring BCBAs, which I think is really cool. They started hiring behavior analysts, and you start seeing all of these behavior-based changes in the program. And of course, me as a BCBA, I'm like, ooh, that's really cool. I see why you're doing that. But they're doing it for everyone, so it's more effective. And this is one of those things. So, the question in Weight Watchers is, why do you want to lose weight? So I wanted to lose weight because I will look better and feel better. Okay, so that's like my very superficial, like at the surface reason why I want to do something. Is that the thing that's actually going to get me up every day to go to the gym and to make me eat healthier foods and cook at home and put all this effort into something? No, that's probably not enough to get me to actually change my behavior. So that's why you continue on down that path of asking why. So why do I want to look better and feel better? Well, because I will have more energy and my knees won't hurt because I'll be carrying around less weight. And then, going further, why is that important to me? Like, why do I want to have more energy? Why do I want to not hurt? Well, I have a toddler. So I can run around after the toddler and I can be healthier. Now, why is that important to me? Well, that's important to me because, I want to set a good example for my kids and I want to be healthy and be healthy enough to be around for them for a long time and be able to play with them and be really involved and engaged in their life. So that is a pretty good final why. I mean, if you ask me beyond that, it's going to be like, well, because I'm a mom and that's what you do. And, I want my kids to have me around. So you're kind of just, when you get down to that final why, if you keep asking the why, you're just going to get more reiterations of that. So that's how you know when you've gotten to that very final why, that final reason for why you want to do this. And again, like that is just my reason. You can have 20 different people, and I'm sure you do. I mean, Weight Watchers has like thousands of people where their goal is to lose weight, and the why for everybody, regardless of if they have kids or not, or if they're the same age as me or not, their why is going to be different. Like that very superficial first one, that they want to lose weight and probably, look better, feel better. That's probably going to be similar for a lot of people. But if you dig down, you're going to get different motivations for every person. And I mean, of course, you're going to have some overlapping, but it's very individualized. And that's what you need to do for your goal and figure out what is your very deep why of what's going to motivate you to get up and do the thing you've got to do. Because if it was easy to achieve our goals, we wouldn't have to write them out and do all of this, right? We can just say like, I'm going to lose weight. And then you just start doing the right things. Or I'm going to save money and, you'll have a few $1,000s in your bank. It's obviously not easy to do these things. So you really need to have something that's truly going to motivate you to make the changes that you need to make. So now that we have our goal and we have our final why as to why this is going to motivate you, we need to break that goal into small, achievable steps. And this is where we can talk about writing SMART goals. So if you've not heard of SMART goals, trust me, you are probably already doing this with your clients, even if you're not aware of it. But having this acronym that we're going to talk about down on paper when you're writing your goals can really help frame our goal writing for ourselves. Now, if you are, well, anytime you're listening to this, I have this template for SMART goal writing on my website. I'm going to have the link below this podcast, so you can go over there and download it for free anytime to help you write SMART goals for yourself. And I highly recommend that you do this and that you're going to do this for every step, every small step of your goal along the way to reach your long-term goal. So, what is a SMART goal? A SMART goal is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, or attainable. I've seen both, relevant, and time-bound. So, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So when we're thinking about a specific goal, when we're talking about that specific part, it is something that needs to be, as it says, specific instead of general. So an example of this is I will go to the gym 5 days a week instead of I'm going to go to the gym more, or I'm going to work out or work out more. You want it to be something that is actually specific, because the next one is measurable. And if you don't have something specific wrote down for what you're going to do, how are we going to measure it? So you also want to think about replacement behaviors when we're looking at this specific part and writing this first part of our goal. So instead of focusing on something that you're going to stop, we want to focus on something that you're going to do instead. For instance, if you want to stop going to Starbucks every morning, you're not going to say, I will stop going to Starbucks, and that's going to be your goal. Or I will go to Starbucks 0 times. Because that's not a behavior. Remember, it does not pass the dead man's test. A dead person cannot go to Starbucks or go to Starbucks 0 times a week. So when we're looking at those behaviors that we're trying to decrease, a lot of those are going to end up not being behaviors when you write it into a goal. So focus on what you're going to increase instead. How are you going to replace this behavior? Because again, if you are only going to be like, I'm not going to do this, then you're going to kind of just be put in a test of willpower until you can hold out long enough, and eventually you're probably going to want to still do it again. So focus on that replacement behavior. So instead of saying, I will stop going to Starbucks, what are you going to do instead? So you're still probably going to need coffee in the morning, so maybe you'll make coffee at home. And you can even get a fancy coffee machine. You can make your own lattes. Like, you can go all out however you want to do it so that you stop going to Starbucks. So your goal could be, I will make coffee at home at least 4 days a week. And that even saves you the other work day or the weekends to allow yourself to go to Starbucks if you want. And you can even start off with a lower ratio of making coffee at home versus going to Starbucks and then shape your behavior over time. But we really want to think of, what is the positive thing? What are we going to increase, even if it's like a replacement behavior? And how are we going to implement that in a very specific manner, that again can tie into this next part, which is the measurement. So having something that's objective. So again, that next part is measurable. And I'm sure we have this part down. I mean, we can measure things, right? Like, that's a big part of our job. We have all the ways to measure and track behavior. But of course, we need to make sure we're doing it with ourselves and that we have something written down that we're going to measure this in an objective way. You also want to make sure that it's something really easy, like a plus or minus per day. It needs to tie into, being objective still. So you still need to have, that quantifiable part of it. So you can't just say, I'm going to, work out more and then be like, yep, I worked out more today, so it's a plus, without actually tracking what you did and having a goal. So my goal right now is to drink 64 ounces of water per day because I am awful at drinking water. I could probably go all day with drinking 1 cup of water or really just any fluids. I don't drink soda or juice or anything else. I just don't drink stuff, except for like coffee. So, I could, maybe if I'm taking data on this, which I am, I could score a plus if I drank 64 ounces that day or more, and a minus if I drank less than 64 ounces. And that's actually what I do. I have a bottle that's 32 ounces, and if I drink 2 of them a day at least, then I score myself a plus. I'm not sitting there like pouring out the bottle and measuring how much I did, but that is an option for you. And that might be a good option for, for certain things that you're tracking, or if you really want to look at your progress per day. But for me, I want to make it as easy as possible. So you could, like I said, get more specific. You could take that raw data. I could track actually how many ounces I drink each day. I could use my 2 water bottles and then, measure how much is left at the end of the day. Or if I do more, like actually measure that, and then track, this day I drank 60 ounces, this day 50, this day 70, and then actually write those numbers down to track it. Or if you have a weekly goal, like the goal I had mentioned earlier that you're going to go to the gym 5 days out of the week, then you could take that data daily and then look to see at the end of the week if you met your goal or not, and then take that plus minus data really for each week. Just remember that you don't want to make this complicated. So you probably don't want to be doing something where you're like taking partial interval recording on your behavior in 5-minute intervals all day, because you're just going to stop, because that's too much. So the higher the response effort of tracking your goal, the more likely you're going to slip up and ultimately quit. Now, we can do it with our clients because that is short amounts of time. Like, even if you have a client that has 40 hours per week, chances are it's not the same behavior tech that is working with them for those whole 40 hours. So even they are not actually expected to continue that for like 8 hours a day. So let's not expect ourselves to do that either. Again, it is tempting to use all of our tricks to take like the most detailed data on our behavior while running like 20 programs with ourselves, but it's just not something that is realistic for us to be able to do and maintain while living our lives. So just try to make it super easy. The next one is achievable or attainable. Those are alternated in there. And this relates to our short-term goal versus our long-term goal. So you're not going to be able to set this lofty goal and then expect your behavior to dramatically change and then maintain over time, just like the next day. We need to shape our behavior over time and reinforce small steps of progress. So make sure you take your long-term goal and break it down into smaller steps that are achievable in short amounts of time, like a few weeks or months. So you're not constantly working at a goal that you're not going to meet and get that reinforcement for until a year from now. We need to be able to make sure we are contacting reinforcement for our goals on a regular basis so that we can see that behavior change. And if you have something that is so hard or so far in the future that it's not really achievable for you at this stage, then you're going to be a lot more likely to just be like, forget this, I'm done, and stop working on it. The next section that we have is relevant. So sometimes for the R, I also see realistic, but I think that is just too similar to the previous section of achievable or attainable. So if you Google this, you might see that realistic sometimes, but you also see relevant in the R position as well, and that's the one I'm going to go with. So this is the part where we talk about that why, where we talked about earlier. If you're writing a goal, but you are not really committed to it, it's not going to succeed. So we want to make sure that we have that final why, and it's something that's really relevant for us in our lives right now. So think about our families that we work with. One of our first questions, or at least what should be one of our first questions during a parent interview, is what is most important to you or your family? If you have a client that needs to work on toilet training, bathing themselves, and getting dressed, and the parent tells you that toilet training is the most important to them and they don't really care about still helping them get dressed because maybe the client's like 5 years old and really compliant with it, then we should prioritize what is most relevant for them. If you tell them, no, we're going to work on dressing, and then you give the parents homework to work on dressing independently at home instead of toilet training, what is the likelihood that they're actually going to follow through at home? It's not very likely. They're going to be like, yeah, we're not doing this. And they're going to continue dressing their kid because they don't care. That's not relevant for them. That's not the thing that's important to them. So we need to have socially significant goals when it comes to our clients, but we also need to have that when we're writing our goals for ourselves as well. So that's where it's important. Like, dig deep, find out what is your final why, and make sure that's something that's really going to motivate you and that this goal really is important to you and you're not doing it for some other reasons or because somebody else wants you to, or it's something that's superficial. Like, you need to have something that's very motivating for you to really keep you going. And then finally, we have time bound. And this is going to tie our goal to a deadline. So with our clients, we often specify goals to be achieved within an authorization period of 6 months. That really should be our aim, that the goals that we're writing on our initial report, our reevaluations, that those are things that we can achieve within 6 months. But we might also make other time-based goals, like something that could be several things that could be done, completed quicker, or that is going to take a little bit more time. And we need to have those deadlines for ourselves as well to keep us motivated. If I write a goal and I'm just like, I'll do this sometime, guess what? Sometime's never going to come because I'm not going to do it. So again, this is for our short-term goals when we're talking about this. Not necessarily our long-term goal, because we might not have that clear of a picture on our long-term goal. But if you set deadlines for your short-term goals and then you keep moving through them at an appropriate pace, you're going to get to your long-term goal. And that's why you want to have those steps. You also want to consider maintenance when you're writing this time-bound section. So my goal of drinking 64 ounces of water, I can achieve that today. I can pause this recording and I can go and chug a bunch of water, and I can do it a couple of more times, and I will have drank 64 ounces of water. I'll just put a lot of focus into it, chug it, and I'll be done. But without putting the time in to create a new habit, I'm not likely to maintain that progress over time, because I won't like it. I won't have built this habit into my daily routine. I'm just forcing myself to do it and meet that goal. So, my goal when we're thinking of this time bound portion might be that I will drink 64 ounces of water per day for 7 consecutive days within a time frame of 2 months. So, I started this goal at the beginning of the year. I still have not met my goal of consistently drinking 64 ounces, and that's okay because, again, like I could force myself to do it right now. I'm not going to maintain it. So instead, I am creating habits or, prompts within my day to remind myself to drink water and to drink more water. So within 2 months, I should be at the point of being able to just naturally be drinking 64 ounces of water per day, and I should be able to maintain that for a week, for 7 consecutive days. And if I don't, then continue and write this for whatever makes sense for your goal. But just, you just don't want to have, just with our clients, I mean, awesome. You didn't hit anybody today and instead you used your words and you requested for items that you wanted. That's great. Maybe your client was having a fantastic day, or they were, with a therapist that was like, you know, one of their favorites, or that was prompting them really well. Just because you hit it for one day doesn't mean you're done. So look at that deadline, but also look at that maintenance and make sure that you are programming your own goals to demonstrate that you can maintain that goal before you move on to a new one. And you may also, just like with our kids, want to go back and check for maintenance that you are actually, maintaining the goals that you have mastered, even while you're working on a new one and you've already finished that one. And if you're wondering where I'm going with this goal of me drinking water, because of course I've talked about, short-term goals and moving them into long-term goals. My goal is to not drink a bathtub full of water. It's actually just one of my small steps of my short-term goals, which is moving towards my long-term goal of being healthier. And of course, being healthier is a very general goal, but I do have more specific details for that. So, like my next goal, one of the things to being healthier is drinking a sufficient amount of water and staying hydrated. So that's my first one, because it's probably like the worst one for me that I don't do. So my next goal, it's not going to be to drink even more water, but it's going to be something else that will move me in the right direction of having healthy habits, like taking the stairs instead of the elevator, or going to sleep at a certain time at night in order to get enough rest, or doing 30 minutes of cardio 5 days a week. So your goals don't necessarily need to be something that builds upon each other, but it could just be things to help you meet your long-term goals and achieve that long-term success that you're looking for. So I really hope this information has been helpful for you in how to achieve your goals and how to use the science that we all know and use on a daily basis on yourself to meet your own goals and to improve your own life as well. So definitely go to abcbehaviortx.com, use the link that I have below, and get that SMART template so you can start using it for all of your short-term goals that you're writing for yourself. And heck, you can even use that with your clients if you're struggling to make sure you have all those parts in your goals as well. But it's really geared towards making sure you're using it for yourself and creating goals that we can, realistically obtain and measure and, make progress on. So definitely check that out. And then our next podcast, we are going to continue talking about goal setting and using ABA to change our own behaviors, as well, talking kind of about a little bit different ways that we can can utilize that in our daily life. So definitely come back and check out our next podcast that's going to be released. And again, hopefully this month we will get ourselves to not just starting New Year's resolutions or starting new goals if it's, middle of the year, but maintaining them, continuing them, and really building them into our lives so that we are always able to see things that we might want to change in our lives and actually implement something to make that change instead of just being burnt out and stressed and overwhelmed and just dropping them and not making that effort, because we deserve it. We deserve to be our best selves, and we have the tools, maybe more so than anybody else, to make those changes. So let's use those tools that we have and that we know and make those changes in ourselves. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me today. Remember, if you are interested in getting CEU'S for this podcast, head on over to abcbehaviortx.com and you can purchase podcast CEU'S individually under the podcast tab, or become a member of the Behavior Crew and get 2 podcast CEU'S per month for free for all paying members. Be sure to contact me with any questions or suggestions, and I'll see you again next time. Have a great week.